I think all the wonderful crowds who came and yelled, "We want the king." And of course in the evening it was a sort of culmination of the whole excitement of the end of the war.
Princess Margaret Rose, Countess of Snowdon, was born on the 21st of August 1930 at her mother's ancestral home, Glamis Castle in Scotland, to her parents King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, later known as the Queen Mother. Known in the royal family as Margot, she was the only and younger sibling of Queen Elizabeth II and spent most of her childhood with her parents and her sister at their townhouse in London. However, when her uncle King Edward VIII abdicated the throne of England, Margaret's life changed forever. With her father next to inherit the throne, the family moved to Buckingham Palace and assumed the place of the royal family. Margaret was still in line to the throne, but in 1952, when King George VI passed away, her sister Elizabeth became queen. Sadly, in 2002, due to a steady decline of her health, Margaret departed at the age of 71. But before that, do you want to win any of these items on your screen? If so, make sure to watch the whole video, like, comment a hidden keyword, and subscribe for your chance to enter. It's that easy. Amidst many of her sometimes whirlwind romances, the princess enjoyed forbidden love at a young age with a man she would never be allowed to marry, then eventually became the first member of the royal family in 400 years to make headlines for divorcing or being divorced by her husband. The previous royal person was the rather notorious King Henry VIII. Furthermore, according to many rumors, she had numerous affairs in her time, often with men years younger than herself, which afforded her the stigma of a predatory woman by the press. Many of the rumors are still a subject of speculation, as few of them were ever proven to be true or even partly accurate. However, some of her promiscuous scandals attracted public attention from her earliest romance to the last. They were often riddled with sorrow and controversy. Princess Margaret's earliest known love interest was with Group Captain Peter Townsend, a World War II veteran who served as King George VI's equerry from 1944 to 1952 and subsequently continued in the position for Queen Elizabeth's first year until 1953. Princess Margaret and Peter may have known each other for a very long time, but news of the romance between them first reached the media in 1952 during the coronation ceremony held for Queen Elizabeth II. The two engaged socially and seemed intimate enough to suggest what the rumors insinuated. However, public attraction only brought to light the many reasons why they couldn't marry. The first was that he was a simple commoner, and although it would not have been too big of a problem, the main reason was his previous marriage. Also, Peter was 15 years older than Margaret, who at the time was 22 years old, and Peter had 2 children with his ex-wife from whom his divorce was finalized in 1953. At that time, the Church of England was greatly opposed to divorce, particularly involving members of the royal family, and didn't officially recognize it. This meant that in the eyes of the church, Peter would still be married. According to the Acts of Marriage in Concern with Royalty, established in the 1700s, their union would require the Queen's permission. Although her sister was never personally opposed to their love, being the head of the Church of England prevented Queen Elizabeth II from granting the required permission. The only way they could have married was if Princess Margaret abandoned her position as princess, giving up both her title and her royal allowance, which would also mean that she would most likely have to leave the country. Even the British cabinet disapproved of a union between the two, as did the majority of parliament, advising the Queen to deny permission unless the princess surrendered her rights to the throne. Actually a minor issue, given the Queen's 2 children in the line of succession. Sir Alan Lascelles, the Queen's private counselor, advised the Queen to send Townsend abroad, but she refused, and instead assigned him to her own household. This was a subtle attempt to separate the 2 lovebirds without causing too much drama, as royalty feared it could harm their image if they were to marry. According to a poll conducted by the media, the public, on the other hand, was almost unanimously in favor of allowing Princess Margaret to marry whomever she pleased, and that it was ultimately her decision. In 2004, documents in the National Archive revealed that in 1955, Queen Elizabeth II, in association with the Prime Minister Sir Anthony Eden, attempted to change the laws of the Royal Marriages Act, removing the need for the Queen's permission and allowing Princess Margaret to keep her title, but failed. In the documents, the Queen's view stated that she did not want to stand in the way of her sister's happiness. However, in October of 1955, Princess Margaret released a statement saying that she would no longer be marrying Townsend. Media speculation considered that Princess Margaret did not decide this by herself, despite what she said in her statement. Sadly, Princess Margaret's romance with Peter Townsend came to an end, and he married a young Belgian woman, Marie-Lutze-Jamange. Media speculation continued to question who the princess's suitor would be, since traditionally it was expected that she would marry. marry. Candidates included the Prime Minister of Canada, John Turner, Dominic Elliott, and Colin Tennant. During this time, Princess Margaret apparently had a brief, unofficial engagement to another commoner, family friend Billy Wallace, but after he confessed infidelity to her, she broke off the supposed engagement. Princess Margaret met her husband-to-be, Anthony Armstrong-Jones, at a supper party in 1958. Anthony worked as a photographer and filmmaker, and whom many considered to be bisexual. In a later statement, Anthony said that he never fell in love with boys, but a few men had been in love with him. Despite these rumors, Anthony and Princess Margaret had an apparently beautiful relationship in the beginning, mostly in secret, and only in 1960, when they announced their engagement, did the media and public learn about their romance. Some believe that they would meet up on regular occasions during the early periods of the relationship at a secret rendezvous spot for intimate fun. One thing was certain between them, and that was that they shared an interest in the arts, specifically for music and film. They announced their engagement on the 26th of February, shortly after Princess Margaret received news that Peter Townsend was to marry. Anthony proposed with a ruby ring decorated with diamonds in the shape of a rosebud, possibly to symbolize her second name, Rose. On the 6th of May 1960, Anthony and Princess Margaret married in Westminster Abbey before the eyes of 2,000 guests. Their wedding was the first royal wedding to be televised and attracted 300 million viewers worldwide. The princess wore a dress designed by Norman Hartnell, detailed with the Poltimore tiara as she walked down the aisle, led by her niece, Princess Anne, and escorted by her father, the Duke of Edinburgh. They held their honeymoon on the royal yacht Britannia, a 6-week cruise around the Caribbean. However, it was spoiled by a scandalous event that would come to light only years later. A former mistress of Anthony, Camilla Fry, allegedly gave birth to his child, which a paternity test years later proved to be the case. Anthony and Margaret would later have children of their own, David and Sarah, who both gained titles after Queen Elizabeth made their father the Earl of Snowdon. However, it was only the first of a string of extramarital affairs committed by both partners. In 1966, Princess Margaret had an affair with her daughter's godfather, Anthony Barton, and a year later, a month-long affair with Robin Douglas Home, the nephew of the Prime Minister, Alec Douglas Home. Although Princess Margaret claimed that their relationship remained purely platonic, letters written to each other indicated a rather more intimate attachment. Robin later committed suicide, suffering from years of depression, as he didn't take the end of his relationship with Princess Margaret easily. Other rumors and speculations suggested that Princess Margaret had encounters with singer Mick Jagger, comic actor Peter Sellers, and Australian cricketer Keith Miller, but these relationships remain unproven. A 2009 biography of the actor David Niven revealed that he allegedly had an affair with Princess Margaret, who was 20 years younger than him. This information was sourced from his widow and a close friend, but never proven. Other rumored lovers included actors John Bindon and Warren Beatty. By the 70s, Princess Margaret and her husband Anthony had drifted apart, and in 1976, they announced their separation. Meantime, in 1973, Colin Tennant introduced Princess Margaret to Roddy Llewellyn, a young man later considered to be the last nail in the coffin of her dying marriage. Margaret described their relationship as a loving friendship and continued to see him for years, despite the scrutiny they endured, partly because of their age gap. Llewellyn was 17 years younger than her, and it was this relationship that acquired her the stigma of a predator, as the media referred to Roddy as her toy boy. Margaret became so overwhelmingly attached to Llewellyn that on one occasion when Roddy left on a spontaneous trip to Turkey, she took an overdose of sleeping pills. She told the press that she was exhausted because of everything and only wanted to sleep. During her recovery from the ordeal, her ladies-in-waiting attempted to keep her husband away from her, afraid that his presence may affect her negatively and result in something worse than the attempts she'd already made. In 1976, photographs of Princess Margaret and Roddy in their bathing suits while on vacation in the Caribbean made headlines, and shortly afterwards, Margaret and Anthony announced their inevitable divorce. In 1978, Margaret successfully filed for divorce and became the first royal family member to do so since Henry VIII in 1533. Margaret's influence on the church's views on divorce changed the outcome of future royal relationships, including her nephew Prince Charles's divorce from Lady Diana. Members of the royal family who followed in her wake would have plenty to thank her for, especially because she influenced the laws on royal divorce. Margaret's relationship with Llewellyn continued for a few more years, despite the wishes of her sister the Queen. However, in 1981, Roddy married Tatiana Soskin, and his relationship with Margaret came to an end. The princess gave them her blessing, wishing them well, and remained friends with the couple for years. After her divorce made media headlines, politicians suggested Princess Margaret's removal from the civil list and the ending of her royal allowance. It never happened, as Margaret lived for years more like royalty, but in all that time that passed until her unfortunate death in 2002, didn't marry a second time. People close to her said that Margaret was very lonely towards the end of her life, a rather sad ending to an acknowledged vivacious lady, who was perhaps at least partly unfortunate to live her life under the constraints which her royal birth placed on her.
Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video.
We also handpick these videos which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question in the comments below. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you back tomorrow.